liveandlimbo.com.
What can I do to get back to your heart? I'd swim the Mississippi River if you would give me another start, girl.
You're listening to Capsule on liveandlimbo.com. My name is Sean Chin, and this is an adventure into music, film, and pop culture. Gilles LeBlanc, aka Rock Enthusiast of Twitter, is back here with me today. How's it going, Gilles?
Go Jays!
Go Jays!
Go Jays, go!
Hashtag come together.
It is going great, Sean. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm very great. Today we're recording this on Friday, the October 16th. So this is Game 1.
Game 1
of Jays versus Kansas City, in which Sarah informed me that it's not even in Kansas.
Well, they're in Missouri.
Yeah, but it's
Missouri.
Kansas City, not in Kansas.
No, exactly. Well, there is a Kansas. I believe there's a Kansas.
But why would Missouri name their city Kansas City? Why not Missouri City?
You know, we could get into a whole "that's the U.S." kind of joke, but I wouldn't want to offend any of your potential listeners from south of the border. So
we do love you, America.
Yeah,
most of the times, yes,
absolutely, most of the times. I don't know why. I'm not a city or city namer or anything. So, there you go. But there is a. Is there not a Toronto in Kansas? Look it up, sir.
I think so, and I think there's a Kansas in Canada too.
I believe there was a city called Toronto, Kansas.
Oh my God, that's well. I guess there's only so many names you can name a place in this world.
It's one of the few. There's a couple of places I think they're named Toronto, but that's one of the few. I remember that. So
that's yeah. So we'll figure that out eventually. And on this episode, we'll jump back to the Jays a little bit later in the show. You did an interview with the awesome Leon Bridges. We're going to talk.
He was awesome.
Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about Radiohead, Taylor Swift, Pitchfork, and Spotify playlists. So what's new with you? Like, what have you been up to since our last episode here?
Wow, I can't even think of when the last episode was. But from what I remember, I think I said how I was going to get into streaming more and more.
Mm-hmm. And how's that been going?
Well, I've plunged headfirst into Spotify, and it is a rabbit hole. Yes, you can call it a rabbit hole. But I am coming around to the concept of streaming, and I got to tell you, I kind of like it. It is a veritable smorgasbord of music.
You actually got to meet and see their Spotify CEO. What's his name?
Did.
Daniel Ek, yes.
And Daniel Ek, yes, EK. I would have loved to meet him. I was about an arm's length away from him, but very eloquent speaker. I guess is very straightforward about what he wants for Spotify, and he just knows it's about. He knows that his company is firmly in the driver's seat, if you will, of changing the music landscape, and they are at the forefront of that. So, it's not. He wasn't cocky about it, but I would say firmly knowledgeable about where his company's place is in the world as a leader.
And there's so many competitors too right now. So I even wrote up a feature, like we're now Live and Limbo is now putting all of our curated playlists by writers like you and editors exclusively on Spotify.
Yes, excellent, good choice.
Yeah, that actually got a lot of attention, so that's good. And yours did as well. You went to the event to meet Mr. Ek.
Yes, exactly.
Those links will be in the show notes. So what do you like about Spotify?
It's just
streaming in general first. How is it different than your old method of listening to music?
Well, you know what? I think it's just the ease of it. I really like the search functions, how easily they can come up, and just basically it's that recommended if you like almost. You know what I mean? Like from one. a search can be a jumping point to so many other things. And, whether it's in a, well, if you like whoever, you'd be interested in this. Or if you just want to go into the, I guess if you want to call it the sampling route, right off the bat, you're presented with some options in terms of what genre that you want to explore. And one of the features that I've liked from them as well is that I've noticed since I've been signing up for them, they actually send you back. I don't know if they do this for everybody. I assume they do it for most of their users. Is that, I guess, based on your listening habits, because of course this is all big data, as we all know and love. They will send you back music that you would think is curated for you based on what you're listening to.
So you've been getting a lot of EDM stuff then?
Absolutely. There was lots of Taylor, and there was some there was some Deadmau5. I don't know, Diplo, and I think there was a Justin. No, not quite. Not everybody knows me that well, Sean. So.
Well, how do you think their feedback music is going? Is it working well? Is it what you want to listen to?
Yeah, it's what I want to listen to, and I was actually quite surprised in terms of some of the choices that I was sent back. And I think it could act very well as someone who, if you're wanting to look for discovery, that could be a great place to find it. I don't know if it's the elusive nut that everyone's trying to crack about, here comes the next new big artist that none of us have heard about, but we're going to break it through something like Spotify.
Sarah will tell us.
Yeah, sorry?
Sarah will tell us what the new greatest artist is.
Of course. Who else of an authority is there that we should know and trust, But yeah, in terms of like artists who you may not have necessarily had on your radar that you probably should. I think it's a great way for that and really to explore. So
absolutely,
yeah, kudos so far. I'm really surprised it's taken me this long to get into it this much. So there you go.
You can always learn new things in this world. That's all the fun technology has.
So more playlists to come. Let's put it that
absolutely way. That's what we're doing. So we have people have always asked me when I do the abbreviated version of Live in Limbo, do you say LIL or Little, like Little Wayne or Little John? What do you think it is?
I would say LIL. I would not.
I've actually never referred to it as that, like phonetically, like vocally, but
but always Lil.
But right now, Lil, like Lil Wayne, whatever. But right now, I'm gonna call it the Little Mix.
Okay.
These are our playlists. So I released
the Little Mix by Little Sean.
Sean. Oh my God, Big Sean. I don't know. That's already taken, I think.
That's already taken. Yes.
Yeah. I'm surprised you knew that. Anyways, so
it's not all garage rock, okay?
So the Little Mix Volume 1 is released today. 21 tracks, and every Friday we will be spitting these out to you via Spotify. So check out that account. And you have a really cool thing that's going on right now. You are responsible for making the Blue Jays reach this next round in the playoffs. Yeah,
forget Jose Bautista and his bat flip. I take complete credit for the team's success.
Your playlist is amazing.
Oh, thank you. It was a labor of love, as they say, and amazing. Really, I'm becoming more and more comfortable with the fact that I was of legal drinking age the last time the Blue Jays won the World Series. So I was celebrating downtown both times when they won. But yeah, just when I was coming up with this playlist, what an amazing trip down memory lane in terms of, just remembering the games that, I was watching on TV, and just those memories of, being on Yonge Street when they did win, and thinking about things like, Yonge Dundas Square didn't really exist back then, and just, we just cruised down Yonge as, people would do back then. And, but just thinking about all the great music that I was into, and, that really did soundtrack that period in my life when, can be extremely influential and, very creative. What's the word I'm looking for? Like a very, very formative. That's what I was
Yeah.
saying. It's really, that period really defined kind of like who I am, kind of like going forward. And, just to be able to go back and relive some of those music memories was just like a tear came to my eye, really,
Well,
So
that's the magic of music, right? And creating playlists. That's the whole magic about it. It brings you back to places.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah. So, not only was I thinking about how, and I think that I tried to have that come across in the text that I wrote, is that I grew up a severe sports fan, especially with the Blue Jays. Not even so much the Leafs. Like my family, we were my parents still are very, very, very much into the Jays. So they're absolutely loving this period. And I swear to God, my mother, who just turned 70, when Bautista hit that home run, I swear she gave birth to another child. Like she was that
Where did this
excited.
other kid come from?
She would have, I don't know, maybe one of the players, I wouldn't know. She would have left my father. I'll throw a name for the past. She would have left my dad in a heartbeat for the Terminator, Tom Hankey. Tom
Oh,
Hankey was her guy. So yeah,
that's incredible.
there's a little tidbit you don't need to know about myself and my family. So
Continue listening to Jill's playlist on our Spotify, and then we'll take this World Series, no doubt.
yeah, exactly. That's no better way to cheer them on because well, that's what the playlist is titled. So yeah, it's a great sampling of the alternative rock that was available at the time. There's a little bit of punk, there's a little bit of hip hop, there's just a little bit of everything in there. But I did not include "Whoomp." There it is. I just couldn't. I couldn't bring myself to do it. So
We'll do it at another time then. But
time.
so we've narrowed it down to Spotify. I do have to give a shout out to Apple Music. They do a great job. I still use that one personally for myself, but all the Live and Limbo stuff is on Spotify. I used to use RDO. I still think they're cool, but they just aren't really for us right now. The only downside with Spotify, I feel, or with streaming in general, is that it's not unified. You can make a playlist on one platform, and then those songs might not be on another platform. So it's all over the place. So with Spotify,
yeah, I'm still working my way through that because
you cannot add Taylor Swift to our playlist now.
I'm not going to get into that, but yeah. Well, what I was going to say is that some artists, maybe this is a label thing that they've recorded certain albums with certain labels and not with others. But I'm just noticing some aren't necessarily available. Like some records some albums that I thought would be available for some artists just are nowhere to be found. And
they're probably on Apple Music.
And they probably would be, yeah, exactly. So
there's nothing to laugh about Taylor Swift. Don't get started there. Didn't you go with your daughter to a tribute show or something?
I did, and I almost had you fooled, thinking that I was seeing the actual Taylor Swift in question. Yeah, no.
Well, okay. Like Sarah and I went to the actual deal, so that was cool. But how did you feel at that tribute show?
And your photos are amazing.
Thank you.
Sarah's review is so, but no, I'm just kidding. She was great. She was great. But, your photos are absolutely amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah, the Taylor Swift trivia act, actually, she was pretty good. They chose a gal that, I think really tried to get the look of Taylor herself. What was really weird at one point is that
you were the only guy.
Sorry?
You were the only guy there?
No. There were quite a few. I kind of stayed to the back. I didn't want to creep out too much, but there was at one point, one thing that I do remember is that she said at one point, "Oh, well, I remember when I wrote this song, there was at this time in my life," and it's like, well, wait a second, someone's taking their role a little bit too seriously.
Oh yeah.
That was a little interesting. So, but no, overall a very good show, and for people who I guess didn't want to deal with going down to the Sky Dome. We're never going to call it the Rogers Center. Let's be honest here. If you couldn't get into the Rogers Center for Taylor Swift's 2 shows, this was a more than acceptable alternate for it.
Imagine that 50,000 people sold out on both nights. That's incredible.
and you screaming like, like you've lost your mind. So
There was a lot of 14-year-old girls around me, and they were kind of concerned because the photographers were getting in their way. I think one of the
uh,
photographers made one of them cry. They paid $420. Well, their parents paid $420 for each
yeah,
kid.
wow. I can almost guess which of the Toronto photographers probably would have made somebody cry, but that's maybe another podcast for another time. So
Yeah, we don't need to put names here, but yeah.
there you go.
So you got to interview the fantastic and sensational Leon Bridges. I really like his music. His track,
So do I. So do I.
Better
You know
Man,
what?
is
I
really
was
good.
never. I knew of him. I knew the name, and I knew of how fast he had risen. He's actually born same year as Taylor Swift.
Wow.
He's born in
1989?
yeah, he's 1989. He's born earlier in the year, whereas Taylor is in December, I believe. So her birthday's coming up. You'll have to get her cake, I'm sure you're going to bake for her, Sean.
Yeah.
But no, I did. I did have the opportunity to speak to Mr. Bridges, who, interesting enough. I mean, I can't remember the last artist who shot to, I guess, success this quickly. And so, if you don't know, he's playing Toronto. He's on, I guess, his own headlining tour right now, and he's playing Toronto next week. And but he's already booked well into 2016.
That's right.
And yeah, and he's already got a date at Massey Hall scheduled for March of next year, which I thought was kind of interesting because usually, if if a second leg or whatever or an extension of the tour is going to be added, they usually wait until at least the first show is over to build a little bit of interest. But
He's ready to go now.
He's ready to go now, and I tell you,
I do want to clarify one thing you said. Like you said, you haven't seen an artist like him rise so quickly, but also he's not a pop musician too. I think you could say someone like Lord rose quickly, but Leon Bridges is in a little more difficult situation because he's not pop. He's like American gospel and a soul singer. So for him to rise up that quickly is even more amazing.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting with him too is that, and I tried to get at this with the interview that I'm sure will be up on the podcast and live in Limbo very shortly. But yeah, I really tried to hammer because he is very much a throwback artist. Like if you would have told me like Leon Bridges, if you would hear his music and you would say, yeah, no, he was a big soul singer in the 1960s, like I wouldn't blink an eye. I would say, yep, that's oh yeah, I remember that name from way back when or whatever.
Yeah.
he lit and he sounds like he's right out of that era. He dresses like that. His shows, I guess, are structured as that. But what I was trying to get to is that he's risen to prominence, a lot having to do with the technology of today. He was putting his songs on SoundCloud,
Spotify too. Yeah.
Yeah, Spotify. He's really used things like Twitter and Instagram to his advantage to get his name out there. While
that's very interesting. That's a good point.
Yeah, while maintaining like this certain throwback aesthetic, which I find has been really interesting. But when you think about it, we're really going through. I don't know if it's a renaissance is the right word, but he's not the only one that's finding success with this sort of throwback style. Like even like Alabama Shakes. I hear a lot of Gary Clark Jr. in him as well, like really like that soulful kind of voice. He maybe doesn't have the guitar licks like Mr. Clark does, but yeah, no, just you hear that voice and like I'm just man, he's terrific. Yeah.
So actually, we're gonna go to that interview right now, and we apologize in advance for the poor reception. We're gonna blame AT&T here, but you still did a good job. We're making lemons. Oh, we're making lemonade from lemons. I always get that wrong.
Thank you, Sean.
So let's take a listen to that right now.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, thank you. We're in DC right now playing at the 930 Club, and we've just been chilling all day.
Very cool. Very cool. Wow, it seems like it's a day to be chilling, definitely, with the weather changing and everything. But I'm sure your shows, things tend to get heated up, if I can make that comparison. And I guess sorry?
Definitely.
Very cool. I hope you don't mind. I feel I should be calling you Mister. It's not just as a sign of respect because, well, that's how I was raised. That's how my parents raised me. But because just because I'm speaking to you, you seem to project a very old soul vibe that I'm sure you've been told about before. So I guess I just wanted to start by asking, how is someone born in the same year as Taylor Swift, like you are? How are you able to channel such music spirits, if you want to call them, like you seem to do, for your fiery shows? How does someone do that in this day and age?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know how to explain it. Um, it's like the artist, the painter, who he's probably never been to certain places that he's imagining and putting on the canvas, but all of his, really it's in him, and so like, that's how I look at what I do. It's like, I have to go to school or take, lessons on how to do this soul music, and it's something that, of course, I had to develop, but it's a feeling, it's something that's inside.
So something that just comes naturally, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And like, of course I, listen to the greats, look at the, basically look at the blueprint of soul music. That's like, it's a feeling.
Okay, well, very cool. Well, whatever seems to be working, keep it up because it's certainly unique in this day and age, and I think it's one of the things that kind of set you apart. So definitely keep at it. Now, just to move on a little bit, I understand now the internet's the interwebs, whatever you want to call it, it's been a little deceitful to me these days. In looking you up, I seem to have like two kind of like places of origin. Some places say that you're from Fort Worth, Texas, and others say that you're from Atlanta. Would you mind clearing one of them up for me?
Yeah, I was born in Atlanta, but I was raised in Fort Worth.
Ah, okay.
I've been in Fort Worth since I was 2 years old.
Okay. So that seems to make sense. The reason why I'm asking, and I wanted to actually hit on the Texas a little bit, is that I know that you're in the midst of a tour that's going to see you be playing shows until June of next year, which is kind of crazy to me because especially I'm talking to you from Toronto, as if you didn't know, and of course you're playing here next Friday. But you've also got a date booked in March for next year that, like if people aren't already looking forward to the show next week, they definitely should be for March, because, you're already a phenomenal talent, as we know. But I just wanted to know, in the midst of, all this traveling that you've been doing, if you've had a chance to catch any of the series that just happened between I guess I got to call them your Texas Rangers and our Toronto Blue Jays, because it was kind of a little bit of a big deal around these parts. So I just wanted to know, are you a sports fan, and were you able to catch any of the action?
No, I'm not a sports fan.
Oh no. Okay, wrong question. So.
Yeah.
But did you hear about any of the? It's been one of those things like the Jays. It's become really like they've really captured the imagination of Canada as a whole, and it's been pretty amazing to see. So I guess you wouldn't want to do a little bit of a shout out when you got here because they were able to beat Texas and they've moved on to the next round. So just not a sports fan at all, I guess, or
no, not at all. For one, just like, I've never been one, but like, I've always just like been focused on, other things. I'm not saying that it's, I think it's bad or anything or whack, but I just don't watch it.
that's cool. You're too busy. You're too busy making music, making awesome music. So that's so no problem with that. All right, that's cool. We'll leave it at that. But we do love Texas, just maybe not their baseball team. So anyway, but moving. No worries, no worries. But I gotta say, as you've been saying, you mentioned the word chill earlier, and with the cooler weather coming up and everything, I gotta tell you, I get chills whenever I hear any of your songs. And it's chills of excitement. It's just your voice is just to me is just absolutely amazing, especially songs on your album Coming Home. I especially like Twistin' and Grooving, and to me it's just I love how your vocals go with the old school horn section that you've got going on, the saxophone and everything. It's just amazing. So I think it's safe to say that your music style can be considered a bit of a throwback. I think that's pretty appropriate to say. And what I find is that it's been very cool to see how, you've got this old school vibe going on, but at the same time, we've literally had a chance to see your career develop in real time thanks to things like the internet. And I'm just curious to know do you think, and I know, you kind of got your start by posting your songs on SoundCloud and things like that. So do you think you would have had the same success at this point in your life without things like the internet, without that technology? Like if you were growing up in that time?
Definitely. I mean, definitely not. Really, with anything, it's all about being at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
But if you go back to the '50s when there were numerous of guys doing the same thing, for the most part, it was hard to get noticed, and so, I think it's great that, I'm living in this day and age and able to channel that stuff, and be successful with it.
Yeah, well, channel is definitely the word. Yeah, I guess it helps that you don't have to, barge into Sun Records or something and, demand to be, demand for some recording time or anything. It is a pretty cool time that we live in that, we have the tools available at our disposal, but at the same time, talent is really what's going to come to the forefront, and you are an absolute shining example of that. But one thing that I found was interesting in learning more about you, in the last little bit, is that I guess your background is you were more of a dancer before of a singer first, and you've actually. Yeah, and you've actually gone from being I guess you were going to be like more of a dance choreographer, and you've become this soul sensation, if you will. So I was curious to know, can you tell us about that time or that moment for you when it absolutely clicked and you said, okay, forget dancing and forget that. I'm gonna focus on the music. Do you mind sharing that with us?
Yeah, it was it's more like a natural kind of transition because I actually stopped dancing or taking classes because I had to pick up a second job. And so I was, I was mostly, I was still dancing a little bit, but when I picked up the second job, it just became easier to, just to play music at night, and so, I never really made the decision, to actually stop dancing. It was just kind of something that was kind of eased in to, writing more songs and playing around town.
Okay, cool. I have to admit, I haven't had a chance to see you live yet, but I have to ask: do you incorporate any of your former moves into your show?
Yeah, I like to. I look at it. I just like to dance when, whenever I feel it or whenever I'm in the moment. I don't like to make that big dance because I always like to just give, just a little bit, a little taste of it.
Nice.
And kind of have that, mysteriousness behind it.
Cool. it's kind of going back to what you said. I guess it kind of all comes naturally. So if it's in the heat of the moment, you just tend to bust it out. Well, that's awesome to see. I'm sure that's something that people will be looking forward to in Toronto next week and in March, like I was saying. Moving on, then, what would you say it is about music? To sort of follow up on that question, what is it about music that made you want to dedicate every single day of your life to it? And, obviously you're doing very well with it now, but are you ever afraid that, the motivation to keep this up, like years down the road, do you find that, are you ever afraid that motivation may never be there?
I do think about that, but I usually have to, always take it one day at a time, but I do think that, what if I'm not, motivated to, to write more, but, for now, it's something I feel that's going to be, that's going to last a long time, but, the thing about music for me was just, I've always wanted to, just entertain people. I wanted people to see, hey, this is what I've done. This is a song that I wrote also, and there's always an excitement about doing that, and I've always loved doing it. That was the thing that really made me, focus on writing and really dedicating my time to that.
All right. Well, no, that's a very honest answer. That's great. Like whatever I guess seems to work in the moment. So you're not necessarily, I guess you don't feel pressure to think 2 or 3 albums down the line. You know what I mean? Like you seem to be living in the moment, so to speak. So yeah, no, that's great. That's great. I wanted to ask. I saw a tweet from you the other day. Speaking of this new age that we live in, these tools that we didn't have, 20, 30 years ago, or however long ago. And so in your tweet, you gave love to, if you want to call them your fellow music millennials. Sorry if I'm using a cheesy term there. But people like Benjamin Booker and Solange Knowles, because they were at your show in New Orleans. So I thought that was kind of cool. And I just wanted to, I guess, ask, are they part of, I guess, the community who inspires you right now? Or who is it really that inspires you these days? Is it young talent like them, and sort of like yourself? Or is it other artists that, you may only be able to experience, on things like records, if you get what I mean?
Yeah, those are people that, I really, appreciate, their musicianship and everything. But as far as my songs, the inspiration comes from, a lot of it comes from the past, of course, a lot of soul, a lot of, country, and, just kind of different, inspiration. A lot of it comes from the past.
Okay, no, very cool. There's an obvious appreciation there. You can hear it, like you can definitely hear it in your music, which I think is awesome, and I think again, which sets you apart in a lot of ways from other stuff that's going on today. As someone like yourself with an obvious appreciation for this history, I wanted to know if do you have like a treasured musical instrument or object at all? And you're in DC right now, just chilling. You're coming up to Toronto. Of course. Are you the type of person who likes to say explore every new city that you're in, like to maybe absorb some of the culture that the city may have? And as a third part to this question, I want to ask, what has been your favorite city so far in this journey that you've been on? Or is there somewhere where you're most looking forward to visiting? Sorry if that's a lot at once.
Yeah, I don't really, whenever I get to a certain time actually doing this. My favorite city that I've been to so far, I'd have to say, it's like between like Spain and New Orleans.
Cool.
Those are like two of my favorite places.
Nice. And so, what about the? Sorry, because I was asking several things at once there. But do you have anything that you treasure, like in terms of an instrument or like any kind of object?
Yeah, I mean, I always look at just like, my guitar, I like to, it's always been something that I, of course, like to bring it everywhere I go and write songs on it, and it's, it's always, I look at it as just like, it's just my tool, to write songs, I'll never be, any, good guitar player, but it's a great tool to write songs.
Cool. Well, I think I don't know if any of us would disagree that you're not a good guitar player. I think for sure. I kind of just wanted to wrap up with a bit of a last question here, and I'm thinking that you may be the very best person to answer this. And that is, does the future of music lie in its past?
I'm sorry, what's the question again?
Does the future of music lie in its past? So with like all the technology and everything again that we have at our disposal, is it really a matter of like we have to go back to, I guess, kind of like a simpler time, or just we have to not rely on, but some of the things from the past are what really work best?
Yeah. I think so. That's the thing about that. It's like, really both ways. There's some modern sounds that people really love, but I think that as humans, I think we can all, like, even if we not familiar with that certain sound, down the line, as humans will always love music that, makes us feel good, no matter what it is, it could be modern or from the past. But I think that a lot of artists who are going back to this certain sound, I think that is definitely something that'll carry on, for a long time.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure we won't be hearing Leon Bridges doing any auto-tune anytime soon, and I think we can all be appreciative of that. So.
Yeah, definitely not.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much it for me. I just wanted this to be nice and short and sweet. But so I thank you very much for the album is fantastic, and as an appreciator of all that. I don't want to call it old music, but blues, R&B, even the soul, gospel, like you meld it all together, and I think it's just fantastic. So I wish you only the best from someone who really appreciates that kind of stuff. Awesome. Well, listen, have a great show tonight, and all the best, man.
Thank you.
Okay. Cheers. Thanks a lot.
And we're back. So, Jills, that was a fantastic interview, despite AT&T.
Yeah, I probably should have asked him who his carrier was, and once he gets a little bit more success to switch carriers.
Yeah,
so.
Well, we can't really blame anyone. That was just for fun. Like artists, they connect with us from all over the place, all over the world. You never know where they are, in a hotel, outside, whatever.
Exactly. As he stated, he was in Washington. It sounded like he was outside. So, but we sincerely appreciate the time that he did give us. So.
And he's probably super busy now. As you said, he's like booked for next year already.
Yeah, exactly. He's got shows to do, so, but the fact that he was able to take out a couple of minutes for us is awesome. So all the best to you, Mr. Bridges.
And yeah, so I think you said the revitalization or the second coming of like the blues rock sound is here, right?
I would like to think so. That hasn't really ever gone away. The Blood Blues are going to be here forever.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's interesting to see how, everything retro in a lot of ways is cool again, right?
Absolutely.
So, like,
He's a
everything
really
is,
cool guy.
yeah. Oh, he was very cool.
So what how would you describe him after talking to him in 3 words?
Soulful. Soulful immediately comes to mind. Just that. No, that's more than 3 words. I want to use, like, okay, I'm breaking all the rules here, but I want to use Hosier's "Take Me to Church," but not that poppy kind of whatever. Like, I'm literally taken to another place when I listen to Leon Bridges.
Wow.
And that is in a completely great way. So, but yeah, and he was saying, as you heard in the interview, he is not above busting out a dance move or two when he is up on stage. It's not his main thing, but he does like to dance, and that is his
He can't help it.
background in his history. So
Exactly.
yeah. No, just that really didn't answer your question, but
It's fine.
But blues, gospel, soul.
Yeah. There we go. So Radiohead is releasing a new album?
Well,
supposedly, or it's done.
I think they're done. I heard they're done. So,
do you know Tom? Did you call him?
Do I know Tom York?
Yeah. Is that how you know it's done?
I know of him. I heard that today, actually, that it was done. I guess not the mixing process and anything, but the actual recording is done now.
So that means 2016 for sure, and a tour date.
Probably for sure. So it sounds like we have, not to jump around here, but it sounds like we have 2 early Coachella contenders, if you want to call it, for 2016, because Muse just announced a tour. That's hitting Toronto in early January, I believe.
Which I think I broke.
Sorry?
Which I think I tweeted first.
Yes, you did. You were one of the first. Yes, absolutely. And so I can probably see, that little jaunt that they're going to be on extending into, April-ish.
Have you seen them live?
Do I have to admit? No, I haven't.
I think they were.
I've seen the what was it? One of their DVDs.
You watched the DVD. That doesn't really count.
No, I know it doesn't count. But I've seen the one where I think they're from Rome, which is fantastic.
They were actually the first band I've ever waited in line for. That was at the Molson.
Oh yeah.
In 2007 for the In Rainbows tour. I got there at 10:30 a.m. and there was already people there, like 5 people from like 6 a.m.
Wait a minute. Are you talking about Radiohead or are you talking about Muse?
Radiohead.
Oh, okay, Radiohead. Yeah. No,
I've never seen Muse live.
I haven't seen Radiohead or Muse live. So sorry.
I thought you liked Radiohead.
Yeah, but I've seen plenty of footage from Radiohead. Actually, I will occasionally bust out, well, quite often, the Live in Astoria DVD from 1994, I want to say, or 1995. It was before the Bends came out, but they played mostly Bends songs, and it's just fantastic. And it's that same era that I was doing as part of the Spotify playlist that I did for the Jays. And actually, I put a Pablo Honey song on that playlist.
And I think that's the only one you can get from Radiohead, that album. All the other ones are not there.
I never really delved into it. I just knew that I wanted to put Pablo Honey on.
Yeah, that's the only album, I think.
Okay. Well, which is interesting because they've more or less stayed with the same label the whole time, right?
Yeah, but Tom York has like a big thing against Spotify.
Oh, okay. Well, that Tom York, he's going to have to maybe change his tune. 2015, so. But no, very exciting news.
What is your favorite Radiohead album?
Oh, probably the Bends.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that.
Like the Bends, I am one of those that I like more of their 90s stuff. I'm not against the stuff that they've released in the 2000s, but
so hard to pick.
But yeah, Pablo Honey was a really good introduction. And it stood up with all the other contenders at the time. but and that there's absolutely nothing wrong with OK Computer. It is one of the best of the '90s, period. But and just in terms of like My Iron Long, just like it just song after song after song. It's for me the band, even the Bends, is a great song too.
Absolutely.
So I would stick with the Bends.
We can't wait for Radiohead to come next year. All the news from them is going to be cool. So I guess, Jill's, the biggest news of the week or big twist was that Condé Nast bought Pitchfork.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on this?
Wasn't that a shocker?
That was a shocker. That happened like randomly and no one expected it.
No, exactly. Well, I think it's kind of the way music and media are going, wouldn't you think? It's and I think I read somewhere that it was one of the first big music sites to be bought up in such a manner. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I can't really find how much they bought them for though.
No, that's still being kept pretty close to the vest. But in terms of a music website brand and an authority that people would know. Maybe not the average person on the streets, but as for music fans, everyone knows Pitchfork.
Yeah.
Like them, love them, whatever rating that you want to give them, and of course, as long as it's a decimal point, if you're a music fan, you know who Pitchfork is. And I was even joking, it's like for everything that's kind of happened, and no matter how much you want to make fun of them, if I see other things that are on the internet, like on a given day on the internet, Billboard magazine, for example, is going to talk about, let's vote on Adam Levine's favorite hairstyle. And, there's every other website seems to be, let's rank, all of these people's albums, from top to bottom, what we think or whatever. It's the same. In a lot of ways, it's the same derivative stuff that's always out there. But Pitchfork they've always had a certain high level of standard. And, well,
I think that's the issue. Do you think they can still continue to do that now that they're bought?
Well, yeah, I think absolutely, because now they kind of have the capital behind them, right?
Yeah, but maybe some people would say they sold out now.
I don't know.
Because Condé Nast is not really the type of publication holder of other magazines and stuff that is in line with Pitchfork's unique style.
In some ways, I guess, but there is the pitch. The first thing when I heard about this deal is that the Pitchfork Review, their magazine, is going.
That's fairly new, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fairly new. I think they're up to 5 or 6 issues.
Yeah, that's new.
Maybe more, and maybe even more. Well, no, they're doing it quarterly, so they've been around for at least a year or so. That's what I was thinking. I know in the releases when the news was announced, they were talking about it more as a digital play than anything else. But that's the first thing that came to mind for me was that no, this has to do with. The Pitchfork Review could be a big part of it because, the Condé Nast owns, New Yorker Magazine, Vanity Fair, some of the bigger titles that are out there in the U.S., are under their domain. So I could see something like that, like the Pitchfork Review, which aspires to a certain level of quality in terms of music journalism. I can see that being really brought into the forefront. So
I just hope they can maintain their standards and how they ran things before and they don't change.
Absolutely. I think, and to be given the freedom to continue their voice that's out in the world with, maybe a couple more bucks behind them to keep that up, I think would be win-win. So
hopefully they got a pretty penny for that. Yeah, they deserve it.
Exactly. And Live in Limbo is next in line. So
I have not got an offer yet.
Well, we're going to try to make that change.
Coming down real soon.
What our Spotify playlist there, Sean,
Absolutely. So, Jills, who are since it's been a little while since you've been here, who are 3 artists that you're really listening to right now?
Oh boy.
You knew this was coming.
That was coming. Why do I want to go back to? I find myself that I'm.
If you want to say Taylor Swift, you can say it.
Yeah, I know that is tempting. That is tempting.
Did you actually listen to 1989? It's really catchy.
You know what? I've listened to Ryan
Welcome
Adams
to New
version.
York.
So,
Oh, come on. Really? Well, you have to compare it.
and I like some of it, and then but the weirdest, it wasn't the weirdest thing. The Father John Misty, how what was it again? So he was doing a couple of songs. He was doing Ryan Adams' covers of Taylor Swift, but in the spirit of Lou Reed from the Underground. And then he took them off wherever he was posting them, SoundCloud or whatever, because apparently Lou Reed's ghost came to him in a dream and said, "You can't keep doing this or whatever, or I will haunt you forever."
This is an abomination.
It's an abomination or something like that. Yeah. So the fact that it's coming from Father John Misty, is not all that surprising. But yeah, no, anyway. What I was going to say.
Your 3 artists who you're listening to now.
Oh, no. I'm not buying time. Trust me.
You can pull out your phone if you have to.
No, it's quite all right. I've been going back to a lot of Queens of the Stone Age.
Nice.
And in the same vein, because the Eagles of Death Metal have released a brand new album called Zipper Down, of all things. I don't know if you've been able to give it a listen, but it's their first album in 8 years. Okay. And I think it's 8 years, something like that, or 7 years. 7 years. First album, 7 years. They've still been touring. They're an active touring entity, but they haven't released an album in 7 or 8 years. And so this is the first album from them in a while. And the reason why I bring up Queens of the Stone Age as well is that a little known fact that some people may not know is that Eagles of Death Metal is actually Josh Homme's side project. He doesn't necessarily play with them live, but he is actively involved in that. He drums on pretty much every song, I think, in terms of the studio. And he produces all of the albums. Now, in this last little bit of touring that they've been doing and some of the promotional things, Homme has actually sat in on a couple of performances. And in particular, they were on Jimmy Kimmel not too long ago. And so he sat in with them and was fantastic. And they had the other drummer I'm sorry, his name escapes me. He was, doing percussion somewhere else. Like he was still on stage with them, but it was Homie that was behind the kit. So that was pretty cool. So I am into the new Eagles of Death Metal album, but in the same vein, I've been listening to. I've been going back into my Queens of the Stone Age catalog. Can't beat them whatsoever. And I will admit, it shouldn't be too surprising to anybody. I was listening to the new Dead Weather album.
Oh yeah, of course. How can you have Rock Enthusiast without Jack White?
But of course you can't. It's just it would be an abomination. Come on, But I gotta tell you, I'm not all that crazy about it. There are some songs. The opening.
What happened?
Well, the opening track I feel love is fantastic. There are some other really interesting tracks that are on there. There's actually one where Jack raps above everything. He had been teasing his hip hop kind of like background, late in his last album cycle. But he actually full on raps one song called $3 Hat on the new Dead Weather album. And actually, I got to tell you, it's not too bad. It's not too bad at all. And there's a really lovely, and I've always liked Alison Mosshart, but I've never been super crazy about the Dead Weather. I prefer kind of like the Kills. It's like, the Kills and obviously the White Stripes, but I do like her, and the name escapes me, but it's the last track on the album. It's just her really, and on a piano, and her voice is just phenomenal in it. It's just one of those that just kind of like, just put it on and I can literally zone out and listen to it. So that's pretty much what and so, you can't listen to the Dead Weather without going back to without going back to the White Stripes and all of other Jack White's various projects. So I find myself getting into that a little bit more. And I find myself that I'm listening to, they seem to always go hand in hand, but Dan Auerbach's new side project, The Arcs, which is quite surprising too. I didn't think I would like it as much because it is quite different than stuff that he's done with the Black Keys, which is actually it's the Black Keys' touring members plus Dan Auerbach minus Patrick Carney, and he's added a female mariachi band to it. And some of the songs are extremely psychedelic and out there, but I don't know. I find it works. And they're coming to, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they're coming to Massey in December.
Yeah, I think so.
That's actually a show I'm really looking forward to seeing. I just find that I'll put that on in the midst of my day, and I'll really groove to it. So
awesome! Good music lives in your ears, right? Man.
So sorry, that's my long-winded story of what I'm currently listening to.
No, that's good. That's good. It's all about the story. All right, Jills, where can all of our listeners find you?
Well, if I'm not on, if my articles aren't on Live in Limbo, which they primarily are these days, I can always be hit up at Rockenthusiast on Twitter.
That's what you're famous for.
That's not really. You have more followers than me. I don't know why you keep saying that.
No, because you are like a thing.
A thing? Oh, okay.
You are the @Rockenthusiast. Anyways,
true.
That's really cool.
I thought you were going to get on me trademarking that one of these days.
Yeah, you should actually. Very important.
Yeah.
Get the URL too.
There you go.
Anyways, you can find myself on Twitter @SeanChin. You can follow the show @Live in Limbo and use the hashtag Capsule Podcast to join in on the conversation. Please subscribe to the show in iTunes. Give us 5 stars and leave us some nice words in the comment section. And as always, you can find the show notes at liveinlimbo.com/capsule. Take care.